All right. Let me get the planets aligned, and then we can start. Okay. It is my bedtime in Wisconsin. So if I seem less chipper than usual, it's because it's my bedtime in Wisconsin. But I am thrilled to be joined by Noah, aka President Foxman, to talk about technology. Do you want to introduce yourself at all? I don't really like introductions, but if there's anything you want to say about yourself, this is the
I'm
part
good.
where.
We can jump into it.
No, I think maybe you should introduce yourself.
Okay.
Since you don't want to, it seems like maybe we should just spend more
Gosh.
time on this part here.
Yeah, what type of introduction? My name's Noah. I make or I have made some videos on YouTube under the name President Boxman. I like to talk about, or have talked a lot about nihilism, my personal experiences with it and struggling with it, about meaning, about all sorts of things. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with nihilism. What is it?
What is it? The phrase that I used was like cultivated apathy. I kind of like that. But I think it's like an immune response. Like it's like a natural response to. Sorry if my dog is running by, and I don't know if you hear the clicking.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's like a natural response to kind of a bunch of different factors. You know, the proliferation of technology, the significant amount of connection that we have to one another, and processing it. And the reaction is to say, there's so much that I need to kind of shut it all out, and none of it must matter. And then, yeah, that's how I would kind of frame it.
So, like, I know that you are a generation below me. So, like, I'm a millennial. My understanding is that you're
Millennials
Gen
are up here. I'm down here.
I mean, in terms of the numbers that we call age, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a higher and a lower, a hierarchy of age. Like, when did you first feel nihilism?
I mean, I'd say it's like it was around high school age, going to school. I have a pretty distinct memory of going to a class, being taught by my teacher, and then getting a strong sense that they weren't telling me the truth, and that this to them was a way to indoctrinate their belief system onto us. Or whatever they had been indoctrinated with, continuing it on. And I got this impression like, I don't think that's what your job is. But if you're not going to do your job, I'm not going to do my job. And so I kind of gave up on being a student. I was not interested anymore. And then that combined with, I was having a lot of trouble finding out, going to church. How does church fit into all the rest of the things? Like, it feels like, in then especially, it felt like church was this one place, and then the rest of the world is in this other place, and I don't know where the crossover is. Part of that was going to a public school, and there was not a sense in which we explored, maybe where some of the crossover would be, but.
You go to church now?
I do.
What kind of church you go to?
I go to it's an Assemblies of God, so it's a Pentecostal church, but it's one of the Assemblies of God churches that don't have the name of the denomination anywhere. So you have to like do your digging to know that they are.
Okay, so now you go to church, which means in some sense that like you must have an idea of how church and your life fit together.
Mhm. I'd say so. Like I've never not gone to church. Like, it's always been part of my life. Um, but there definitely was a point where I kind of had to make that bridge or that gap or figure that out if I was going to continue on. Um, and part of that work was Ravi Zacharias, like listening to his stuff. Um, Part of that was G.K. Chesterton, Orthodoxy was a huge impact on me of figuring out, actually, uh, this Christian stuff has to deeply be involved in everything. Um, and it does have an impact and it does matter. So,
How how is the Christian stuff involved in nihilism?
oh, this is an interesting one because that's actually one of the I was doing I did a project a while back on Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. And so this was like one of the first big videos I worked on was me kind of processing this about this idea of playing through a video game with a certain philosophy in mind and then seeing how it would play out. Um, that video tended kind of seemed like a video essay in a lot of ways, looking back at it. Um, but my thesis of that video by the end is that uh, nihilism lived out isn't nihilism. Like you can't do it. Like it's just not possible. Um, there's always a value system involved. Like you always have to prioritize something, or something has to matter, because you can't just act randomly, or you can't do nothing. To do nothing is to value nothing. Um, but even then, you're breathing, or you're like you're constantly making decisions, and so it's just not livable.
Can we get more into the mechanics of like how New Vegas works and what you were doing? So like I haven't
Yeah,
played New
yeah.
Vegas, but I've played 3 and 4. So
Mhm.
I'm very like familiar and I know some of the lore from New Vegas and I'm very excited that Fallout season 2 on Amazon is moving towards New Vegas. Although my
Mhm.
wife and I haven't started season 2, but I got her to love season 1 and that was like just a thrill that my wife was not only did she watch Fallout with me, but she really likes One Piece on Netflix and so I just feel like I'm
Mhm.
winning in life and I couldn't be happier.
That's a good feeling. Um, yeah, Fallout New Vegas is pretty similar. The part I played through was just the very beginning. So there's like in a lot of like those type of games, you have a series of choices that you're making, and ones that have consequences. Um, if you go one way or the other. So early in the game, there's a choice between do I side with the town um, against this gang of kind of prison convict escapees, or do I join the prison gang and destroy the town and get revenge on this one guy who's in the town. Um, and then there's a series of other decisions and things like that. But it's very much like a pretty contained area of the game. It doesn't have too much impact on the wider scope of the decisions that you make later on. Um, but it's a nice kind of playground of you know starting to make these decisions or to think about what philosophy you can take on when kind of encountering these conundrums in front of you.
Okay, so you said like nihilism lived isn't nihilism.
No,
What did you say?
it's just not possible. Like
It's not
it's
possible.
like you can try, and then I kind of go through several ways of like you could trying to find a way to like be a nihilist, like like flipping a coin and just doing whatever the coin says. Um, But the problem is, first of all, just doing that implies that you have to kind of enumerate the decisions you could make. And there's an infinite number of decisions. I could move any of my fingers right now, or I could, touch my nose, or scream any number of words. And you can't kind of do that. But let's say you could, and you could just have a random dice that's like infinitely big, and you could just get the exact answer on what to do. But that's to value the dice, right? That thing becomes your god. Like, that is, everything you do comes from this one thing. And so to be able to not value anything is more of an attempted middle finger at existence. Like, it's to basically say, I'm not going to do what you tell me to, so I'm just going to do whatever I want, or whatever I think you won't like. That tends to be how nihilism plays out. It just becomes idolatry of something else.
It almost makes me wonder, like, just the way you phrase that. It's like nihilism almost like leads to hedonism.
It could.
I'm sure it could lead a lot of places.
I think that's that's kind of the natural tendency, but I think there's also like a very resentful like strain, and the resentful stuff doesn't necessarily lead to hedonism. Like, some people are willing to destroy themselves out of resentment.
Yeah. Yeah. You think nihilism is easier in real life than in a video game?
I think it's harder. I think the idea for the video game to do that for it was that it's a little bit more easily squared away. The decisions are more obvious. In real life, it can be much more complicated. I hope I didn't cut out.
No, can you still hear me?
Okay. I can still hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm frozen. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, whatever.
No, that's fine.
It's making me think. Last fall I got married, and we went on a honeymoon to Ireland, and spent a lot of time in a lot of pubs across Ireland. And there were only ever like 5 or 6 choices in every single pub.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is weird. Where are all of my options? Like, but then it like, I don't know if it was like day 3, day 4. It was like, it shifted from being weird to being like calming. Because like, I knew that every pub I went to, I knew exactly what I could have. And so like that sort of decision fatigue that I often feel in like all aspects of my life, it just wasn't, like, decision fatigue wasn't an option.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, wow, what a nice thing for a culture to just remove decision fatigue for me in this one place. What do you think about decision fatigue? Because like, I think it's exacerbated by the technology we have.
Mm-hmm.
Does that spark anything? I didn't really ask you a question. That was kind of a non-question, but
well, I think that plays into what we're talking about too, where there's this the input becomes so overwhelming. Like, I hope I'm not steering us too far off, but
steer us wherever you want to go.
One thing I've been thinking about is like people talk about nihilism as if the cure for it is care, like caring about things. But I think that kind of misses the bar a bit. I think that's kind of one of the causes, is that you're asked to care about everything, and this should be, all of your attention should be on this, and everybody's saying it everywhere. They're like, you should be paying attention to me, or you should be paying attention to this. And one reaction is to say, like, is to shut it all off. Say, like, no, like, and actually, I'm not going to care about anything. Like, that's, and it's just kind of a wanting to push away. And I think that's part of the decision fatigue, is that there's so many voices. There's a plurality of things wanting your attention, of everything, of choices in the bar, or shampoos on the shelf. I think is the Jordan Peterson thing he talks about is part of his decision fatigue. Yeah, I think that plays into a lot of this. And then technology, of course, you know, you open yourself to more of these kind of spaces where, you know, not only is it going to the store and seeing all the shampoo, but you could go to 5 different stores and they all have a different set of shampoos. And, you know, and then you have to choose between them. And some people are out there saying that this is the most important decision for the future of your hair growth, or, you know, if you use the wrong shampoo, you're going to go bald, or, you know, like everything just constantly, you know, growing and wanting more and more and more.
So how do you make good decisions?
I mean, I think it has to be wisdom to a certain amount, to say, and I'm still learning this. I think that's part of the reason why, like, I still struggle with all this. It's like what things to turn down the volume on, or what to mute, and making those decisions. And then the wisdom and discernment to kind of judge between them. You know, is my choice in shampoo more important than, you know, if I'm patient with my wife or not, right? Like these type of things. You know, what's the most important thing, and what should be the most important thing, and how am I behaving, and what does that say about what I find to be important subconsciously?
You know, you and I were both at this conference last year in Chicago, and you were like running around with this like old video device.
Ooh, got to hear.
What's up with the analog stuff? I guess it's not really analog, is it? Is that still digital? Is that different?
Technically digital, but it's on the edge. It's a digital tape, which just means that it's magnetic versus, or actually, I'm not exactly sure what the difference is too much. But still, like, what is the analog stuff? I think there's that sometimes things are too streamlined. They're too easy. And that, like, it's that the difficulty is what makes things meaningful. Like, this is like, if I'm trying to think. My wife has recently gotten not rid of her smartphone. It still works. Like, it's basically just Wi-Fi only. And so she uses it to play like the Pokemon trading card game on her phone. But for, you know, carrying around day to day, she has a flip phone. And this is like a limitation, first of all, like, to voluntarily take on, to say, you know, this has been distracting me. This has been too much. I feel like there's too much access that the world has to me. And so I'm going to kind of tone down that dial. The camera is like another way, even though I haven't found a good use for it elsewhere. But like, I could take out, you know, my phone and record and be better quality. But there's something like meaningful about, you know, I'm gonna lug around this, recharge the batteries, that it's a voluntary limitation. I'm still working on how that gets you closer to something meaningful, but I think it just does. Like I think sometimes smoothing things out too much gets us caught up in all sorts of danger.
Okay, so there was one point of this conference that we were at where you were like in the front row using that thing, and I was sitting behind you. And like I remember some of the footage you took. I saw it like once it hit YouTube. But I also remember watching you like use your thumb to like zoom in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking about like meaningful, I'm curious, like, I don't know, usually if I pull out my phone and take a video, I might frame it nicely if I'm like, you know, wanting to be artistic. But I'm not like zooming in and out. Like that's like I don't know, like I just kind of hold it there. But like with what you have, I'm curious if there's more stickiness in your memory to like zooming in on somebody's face.
Oh no, I remember it. Well,
Like,
and there's some times where I would be sitting there, and I don't remember who was sitting next to me, but there'd be like a couple people sitting next to me, and every once in a while they'd look over, and they would see that I'm kind of doing like sight gags or something like that. Like I'd be able to line it up. So I think one of the thumbnails that I did for Paul Vanderklay's speech or talk, the mic holder is like lined up on his face, and he has his arms up, and he looks like he's some sort of Dune like patriarch or something. or I'd zoom in on somebody else's face while like another person is talking and they're reacting. I think I did that for Peugeot. Like Peugeot was reacting to something that Vervicky was saying about AI, and Peugeot was just like makes like a slightly disgusted face or a confused face, or Paul laughing like when you know there's some conflict being happened. Like the thing is, I don't think we necessarily think about like footage or all these things, like the perspective. Like it's there's the I don't know how popular this bumper sticker is where you've lived, but there's one that says like film is truth.
oh no, I don't know that one.
Oh, okay, that one's like I don't know if it's a Washington thing or not, but it's like a very big thing I've seen, and it's about like documentaries. Like the idea is that like we should support documentary filmmakers because they reveal the truth. But it's, to me, it's just such a stupid stupid thing to say. It's like film is truth, and I'm like, well, first of all, like, have you seen a documentary? Like, there's nothing more propagandistic than a documentary. Like, you can manipulate whatever you want with that, but that's another thing entirely. But and just like your eyes can lie to you, like so can a camera. Like but in the same way, like there's a beauty to that. Like there's a unique perspective that you can get, and in that sense, it's true. Like that is the perspective of the camera, or the eye or the person, and so that's something that you can't get any other way. So it was fun to zoom in on people's faces.
Well, it's like when I was in high school, I found like a Polaroid in like my parents' basement, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. My dad was like, that piece of junk, we should throw that out. And I was like, no, don't throw it out. I want it. He's like, oh, you better take it, otherwise I'm going to throw it out. And I remember the first time I took a picture with that thing, there had been film sitting in it, and it was like aged. So there was like, I mean, it had just like the perfect aging. It was the perfect filter. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'd have to buy film and then let it sit for, I don't know, 20 years or something to get that again. I should do that. Actually, I should age film. But I've like that, the Polaroid has become like a sacred object in my life where like, I don't, since high school, how many phones have I had? I have no idea. I have no idea how many phones I've had, but I've had one Polaroid camera. And like I've lugged it all over for like camping and backpacking and hiking, and like the film is expensive, and so like there's like a real cost to taking a photograph. So I'm careful when I use it, and all of that just kind of like, I don't know, has this super charge of meaning to it.
Well, and the other aspect of the Polaroid too is that you get something, right? It's not like it's not on a roll of film or, in the storage of your phone. You get the photo right there. Like that's something you can put on your wall or on your fridge, or very rarely do we get like prints.
I was reading this is a philosophy book by let me see, I'm gonna say this poorly, but Byung-Chul Han. The book is called Non-Things, and he was like, there's a whole chapter on the selfie. It's like a little pretentious, but it's interesting. And okay, I can't, my memory is terrible. I can't remember if this is from his chapter or if this is a thought I had while reading. So I'll give him the credit. Just okay. Mm-hmm. But I remember thinking about, like, could you imagine if somebody, like, I don't know, you met somebody in real life and they invited you like to their home, and you were like, great, yeah, let's come over, I'll come over for dinner. And you like walk into their living room, and their living room is just like covered in like printed selfies. Mm-hmm. Like I've never seen that before. I've just like, nobody prints selfies. We don't frame selfies. I mean, maybe you have like some selfies like at your desk of like you and friends or something like that. But like, I don't, yeah, like all the time. It seems so trivial that I use a Polaroid camera differently than I use my phone, or that you use your digital to tape video recording device different than you use your phone. But like, there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
How do we use the internet in more of an analog fashion? How do we use the internet in a way where we're dialing back a few degrees? Or should we?
Yeah. And I don't think always dialing back is it's a, like you were saying, like, should we? Like, I think there is like a wisdom aspect in navigating that. Like, there are things that I think are good to smooth out sometimes, but it shouldn't be only smoothed out. I think that's partially why I'm so significantly ambivalent about like the role of AI in the world, is that people seem really excited about smoothing out all the edges. And I'm like, what are you going to do at the time? Like, if AI does everything that you would have done in your day, like, what are you going to do with that extra time that you have on your hands? And it seems like it's just the scope of like what people want to be automated in their lives just keeps growing. I remember there's an article about how if you reach a really difficult section of a video game, there's like a new like Sony technology where they'll have an AI play through the section of the video game.
Okay, I thought you were going to bring up yellow paint, and I was getting ready to be rageful, but keep going.
No, that you could have AI. Like, I don't know if they've done this yet. This is just like a concept that they've kind of shown to the public. But you can like get an AI to play through that section of the game for you. So if you're stuck on a boss in Dark Souls, like, I'm so frustrated, I just want to keep playing the game, but I'm stuck here. So, I'll do that. But think about like grinding, right? Like, I don't want to grind for XP in World of Warcraft, so I'm going to get my bot to do it for me so I can, I don't know, it's just it. And not to say there aren't bad games. There are games that are bad, and they shouldn't have a horrible rough edge. But
yeah, they should shorten their run backs. I'm sick of run backs. Screw you, Silksong.
That's one thing I've heard a lot about, like Silksong specifically. People have been saying like Silksong brought back the run back. Like runbacks are gone for a while from a lot of games, and it's an interesting, purposeful choice that they made to make runbacks that are like somewhat actually tedious. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and and there's like I've watched quite a few throughout the years, like video essays on just like the run back or the
Mhm.
grinding to beat the one boss. Um, and there is a certain magic there when, I mean, it's not magical in the moment. And by moment, I mean the hours of my life that I've spent running back or fighting the same exact boss. But like completing the thing and like, yeah, I mean, I think it has to be attached to like learning the pattern and then like having pattern mastery. Man, is that a good feeling?
Mhm. Well, I mean, I think about there's a Twitch streamer by the name of Dan Giesling. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff.
No.
He got famous for for winning Big Brother, the reality television show, one of the seasons. But he plays video games, and one of the things he was doing for a while was playing Elden Ring without leveling his health at all, any of his vigor. So he was always at the minimum level of health throughout the entire game, and it's, like he got through like the DLC. He's not really good at the game, like, to be honest. Like, and so he would just be going like over and over again. It's just like seeing somebody bang their head against the wall. They're like, I'm gonna do it, and he did it. Like, it's crazy, but I don't know if he made it through the. I didn't keep up at the very end if he made it through all the DLC, but he beat the game definitely. I think he beat Millennia and everything. Like, it's an achievement. It's
Yeah, I have to imagine that it forced like some creativity out of him.
I think there was a point where it was just like he's just such a positive person that there was just like it was pure optimism. It was just that's what was pushing him through. Like, there was a strange absence of rage. Like, it was it was just like, yeah, we're doing it again.
I don't know if this is the right term, but do you know in Elden Ring those like wandering chapels where you have to like smash the
The
barnacles
bell
off the knees?
tower ones. One was the bell at the bottom that rings, and you have to like hit all the
Yeah,
things off the foot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Those things are one of for me like the clearest. Well, it's not really a metaphor. Is it? Maybe it's an analogy. When I think about the TLC, that's what I think about is those things.
Okay.
Just this like chapel that's like really hard to access, but like if you spend the time to like learn the language and befriend strange characters, then you can like take a rest in this like wild foreign land for a while, for really as long as you want, and then you like just go back out into the wilds. But like this chapel is just kind of like wandering about through the lands, and it's like, oh, it's over here again too on the internet. That's kind of neat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say the TLC is?
What is the TLC? I don't know. I have a hard time because I don't even know what my relationship is with it entirely. So I have a hard
Oh,
time with
interesting.
that. I'm not like a Peterson sphere person. That's not a thing. I think it is a thing, but I'm like, I don't know who I am to this thing. But it's a community, a collection of YouTube channels that all generally have their source from Paul Vanderklay's channel, and they've kind of collected into these smaller communities that have kind of people crossing back and forth between them. That's the image of the flotilla that keeps getting brought up. But there's these kind of collections of boats, and you can kind of go between them, but they're all kind of traveling and doing their own thing independently. Yeah.
When it comes to the internet, are you content with its place in your life?
The thing I've been saying most, I've been saying it for about a year now. I think I have a hard time sitting down and kind of finishing it. But I've been saying I've been negotiating my relationship with the internet. I think that's kind of the constant state that I find myself is how much of it does it get of me and how much do I get of it? And so it's kind of been, currently I have like a bit of a lull of making stuff, or I guess making things and putting them on the internet. And part of that's out of that is that I'm still trying to figure out what the relationship is.
What do you want the relationship to be?
I want it to be generative. Like I want it to, if it's there, I want it to make my life better. But sometimes I have a hard time finding vision of, what's the perfect scenario. I don't want to go too far down this route, but there's been a few kind of characters that have shown up around the TLC, who are kind of known in other parts of the internet, and are pretty notorious. And it's happened a few times in the history, if you look back, and nothing bad has happened, but there is this element of like, I don't know, like I don't, if I'm going to be on the internet, I don't know if I want to be around that kind of stuff, the like drama YouTube side of things. And sometimes I worry about that, an online community, that sometimes any drama that happens becomes YouTube drama and not people sitting down and just talking and, settling it. So there's a lot of things that I become ambivalent about or kind of discourage me. But
What do you think millennials should learn from Zoomers about the internet? Like, what do you know about the internet that I don't?
I'm not sure if the divide is necessarily generational now. I think the divide tends to be like, when were you exposed to the internet? Like at what age, and how far did you go? Right. Like I think Af knows more about the internet than I do, or Afriel. Just because he kind of dove deeper at an earlier point in his life. But if there was one thing I was just going to share generally from my experience, is something like, if there, no, for the generations, is that there is a major movement of Gen Z that is kind of stepping away from the internet or trying to figure out how to negotiate a relationship. Like, I think that's been kind of a present reality. You have Jonathan Haidt kind of talking about it in his book, Anxious Generation. Even at the local college campus, they have a Luddite club forming. So like,
Is it called a Luddite
yeah,
club?
they call it the Luddite club. Yeah.
I'd never thought about like using that word in like a, I mean, I don't know if positive is the right word, but like claiming that word and being like, no, I am this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes sense. It's like it's surprising, but then it's like, of course. It's
What's the image? The wooden shoes and the windmill gears.
I mean, maybe I've already asked this question, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like I ask myself this many times a day, so I'm going to ask you a second time in case I've already asked you. But like that Luddite thing, I feel like that's so. There's a move away from technology across the board. Like, do you think there's a way to balance? Like, do you think there is a balance? Do you think?
Mhm.
Cause sometimes I wonder, like, my iPhone is so good at just like hacking my biology that it's just too powerful.
Yeah.
And I've done things to where like I don't have any notifications, so I've done some of those things where like, okay, then I'll hack you, and I'll try to tame you a little bit. Um, I can't imagine becoming technology less. I like the idea of it a lot, but I can't imagine the practicality of it. I mean, I'd have to get a new job, and right now I
Me
really need my
too.
job for health insurance.
Well, I'm a computer science guy, so like that's I don't know. I would agree. Like I think that there has to be a balance, right? Like I don't think it can't be the iPad baby for the rest of your life kind of thing, and it can't be you know irrigation was a mistake, right? There has to be some sort of line that's drawn somewhere. Um, I think it has to be made in wisdom, and uh, it has to be personal. I don't think you can make the decision for someone else um, on what they can handle or not. Um, but how do you develop that both the wisdom to be able to know to step away and the wisdom to know when you're ready for you know more technology again, if you ever are.
I think you've said wisdom more than any other word in the last number of minutes. I guess not really. I'm sure you use words like the or.
I think it's underused. I think we've forgotten about it, at least around here. But
Okay, so how are you? I don't know. How are you practicing wisdom? How are you trying to become more wise? Are you using technology in that process? Is that a technology-free process? What are you doing to be more wise?
that's going to be. I'm working on it. The only thing that I am certain of is that in James it says that if you ask God for wisdom, He'll give it to you. So asking for it is one thing. That's one practice. I know Vervaeke has his own kind of stuff, and uh, I just had a hard time sitting down and working my way through awakening from the meaning crisis and doing all that. I'm really paying attention to that. But it's just like contemplation, like reflection. Um, I think those are the kind of clear paths towards that, and learning to get better at that. And I'm really bad at it. So yeah.
I think you're underselling yourself a little bit, but
Okay.
if I asked you to apply any part of this conversation, apply is the wrong word. If I asked you to bring the smash hit phenomenon video game Death Stranding into this
Mhm.
conversation, do you think Death Stranding has anything to tell us about technology or nihilism
Oh yeah.
or how to grind?
I it makes me so sad that I can't play Death Stranding 2 because I don't have a PS5 and I'm not going to spend $500 to play a game that's going to come out on PC eventually. But the tagline for that game was should we have connected? So the first game is all about connecting. It's about the world has been disconnected. It's very COVID-esque. We've all been isolated. And so like, let's set up these lines of care and attention to one another. And let's do that hard work. And that's good. That's a major piece. But the other half of the puzzle is, what do we do when those lines of communication, those connections we've made actually pose an imminent threat to us, and potentially are too much that we can handle. I don't know if Kojima will go the full way with that, but I don't know. I'm excited to play it when I get my hands on it, even though it's been out for a year and a half now or something.
Me too. I've mostly avoided spoilers, so
I guess it's just 1 year, but
yeah, hopefully people aren't really talking about it anymore, so
yeah,
I should be spoiler safe. When I think about technology, one of the things I think about from Death Stranding is like what was it called? Like the exoskeletons. And because that was like one of my favorite things from that game was like the speed exoskeleton, and just the ability to like run really fast. But like, I mean, nearly everything in that game, it was like, oh, this is so cool. But it was like, oh, if you do it too much, it's gonna hurt you. And so like I'd run really fast, and then it's like, oh, I'm moving too fast. Now I'm wobbling, and now I'm falling, and now I'm tumbling, and now I'm like taking damage. And I thought that was really interesting that like the pros and cons on so many things were just built into the systems and were like unavoidable, where you were going to encounter the pros and cons in the game. I don't know. I don't think there's really any like cheat codes or hacks to like get around dealing with, if you do this too much, it will cause you pain.
There's some parts of the balance of that game where the zip lines, I think, are a little too much.
I never used them.
You never? Well, then that's why you had a great time, because you had the discipline to not use the zip lines. Zip lines were too good. But if you don't use the zip lines like you did, like Vervaeke talks about the one of the 2 episodes of Awakening from the Meaning Crisis I actually saw.
I think I've only watched 5, so
well, you're ahead.
I'm older than you, so you know.
I have a couple of years to catch up. We'll do 2 a year to get there. He talks about like flow state and this idea of like the difficulty, and you want things to be just difficult enough that it matches your skill and you grow. So as you become more skilled, the difficulty can kind of move with you. And just in that same way, where you're unlocking things that are just you need to be a higher skill level to be able to use them well. And so the difficulty increases. And so that curve is pretty nice, where it just kind of goes up the middle, where it's I should go this way, where it's just difficult enough that you feel challenged and you don't feel frustrated by it, and you can just keep on climbing. I think a lot of games have a really hard time like sitting there. I say that, but then video games are kind of the flow state machine that people can kind of get stuck in. But
yeah, there's been multi-year periods of my life where I was stuck in those flow state machines. I haven't played anything. It's been like a number of months. Like I'm really itching. I miss it, and I was like in the middle of Silent Hill 2, and I'm like, I have a foggy city to explore. I need to find out what happens. Yeah, I think it's interesting with video games how, like, I feel like they're still getting a bad rap, which is strange to me because I also hear people be like, "Oh, there's no good film or TV." And I'm like, well, people, like, we're now adapting video game stories. Like, I mean, some of the best stories are coming out of video games or anime, in the sense where it's like the old forms are kind of dying and withering on the vine, and people are still like throwing shade at like video games, anime, where like story is very much alive. And like they usually don't get me to cry the way like I'll still cry during a film. But certainly I've had like numerous incredibly meaningful story interactions in a game that I do think are like bring life to culture.
Yeah. I think it's just there's a couple things. One is trying to find a way to phrase this delicately, but maybe this is it's just not a delicate thing. Like,
Ooh.
so you have movies, right, and films, and you know you have a wide array of things. So you have your Marvel movies that sometimes touch on something, you know, deep, and then oftentimes just completely miss it, and they just become formulaic. That it becomes like it's pressing like the Skinner box button, like it's just trying to hit your dopamine, so you're like you see enough cool things. That's why Scorsese talks about Marvel movies as amusement park rides. They're just, you know, things are happening at you, and then you have, you know, real films. You have you know, all these kind of classics, Rashomon and all these type of things that really explore the medium and kind of challenge you as you're watching them. You have horror movies that kind of also cut this divide, where some are like really honest and considering, and you know, they touch like a deep part of you, and then you have other ones that are just like, you know, it's hard to say, it's hard to avoid at this point in the conversation. Like there's also the pornography aspect of it as well, that it's just trying to hit a button, or you're trying to just feel something, and it's not about like bringing your whole self in it. It's just trying to like evoke something in you. And I think that significant amount of games also falls into something like that. Like it's just trying to like get you to feel something or do something, like the gacha game kind of phenomenon of like, the goal is how do we make a game in which we prime people to spend money? Like we're just going to like, we're going to build this artifice, and we can kind of, you know, paint it really pretty, but in the end, like the goal here is to do that. And it goes several different ways, right? Like we're just going to make a game that it's just going to have as many jump scares as possible, because, you know, like that's funny, and that might be what somebody wants. But it doesn't really explore the medium anymore, or, you know, there isn't this kind of artistic quality to the same extent as, you know, other pieces. But I think what people see is in films, I think they can tell the difference more easily because they're in it. They can see the difference between a Marvel movie and going to see Goodfellas or something like that. Versus when they see video games, they see people shooting or whatever, and they just assume it's all the same. So that's been part of my processing, is like what needs to happen to be able to push video games in the artistic direction, make that more apparent. But then also, I don't think it's quite there yet, like you were saying. Like I think there's like these really impactful stories, and some of the most impactful stories in my life have been through video games. But still, I don't know if it's quite on par with film or television. like the best stories in those. Like I don't think it compares. And maybe it's just because it hasn't been around long enough, right? Like I don't know if there'll ever be a movie or a television show that matches Brothers Karamazov. But it might be a while, right? It might just be it hasn't been around long enough for these things. Yeah.
If somebody was listening and they were like, video games art, do you have a few like rapid fire suggestions for like experiencing art through video games?
The problem is the time investment.
Well,
Where
but
it's
just
like yeah. Like I mean, I know it's the one that comes to my mind right now, and I think it's the one that's memed on a lot, is the Expedition 33 Clair Obscur. Both combination of art and the like visual art and music and story. The fact that it has a few major twists that actually have gameplay implications, and processing of grief throughout that game, and it kind of embodies several different aspects of even in the endings. The ending choice has to do with grieving and how do you process it and deal with it. And to have that in a game that's also fun in the process is a kind of a challenge. That's one that comes to my mind. I mean, Death Stranding is another one of these. But the difficult part about video games too is that it's a language, and inviting people into the language is difficult if they don't have any experience with anything else. And so an on-ramp point is really hard for someone who has never touched anything or has only touched, Super Mario Brothers.
You ever played Gris? GRIS?
I still haven't. No.
I played that last year for the first time, and that's like it's basically the Super Mario Bros. Mechanics. There's a little more, but it's basically 2D walking, jumping, and it's almost like you're just like it's like a few hours of living in a painting.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those things like get me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
the
Journey is a
vibe.
classic, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I played that. I don't know. I think it was the art director of that. I played Sword of the Sea recently.
Yeah, that came out like last year or something, right?
Yeah, and loved that. You're just like surfing in the sand dunes on a sword, but like at the same time, like you're also turning the desert into like a garden. And I was like, okay, this imagery is like so overwhelming with like biblical mythology, and it was it was so that was just meaningful. It was like just to see a desert turn into a garden and to participate in that, even in a virtual world, like it still meant something to me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even an older game like Metal Gear Solid, I think is one of these games that has like had profound impacts, and not just on people like me who were born after it was. I think I was born after it came out. Either that or I was born like right as it was coming out. Like exploration of lots of TLC type things. Like there's certain times where like I just wish that I could get someone like Luke Thompson or somebody to like just be able to sit down and like listen to the monologues of these characters and hear that. I mean, I think Richard Dawkins gets mentioned by name in the game. Like
That would not surprise me.
because of the selfish gene. Yeah, his idea of memetics shows up.
Yeah, I saw that you and Afriel, did you guys trick Neil into playing Undertale recently?
we tricked him into one session. I don't think he was willing to go further than that. But it's our attempt to inch closer.
Why? Why do you think people should experience the art of video games? Like, why even spend energy to like get a friend who hasn't played something to play something?
I mean, it's the same reason why, why do you get someone to like watch a movie? Like, why do you want, you know, there's like a certain amount of a shared experience. Like, I want to be able to have this language or this shared kind of foundation together. And also to see, like, what does this look like through your eyes? I think is also an element too, right? Like, what do you see when you see this? Yeah.
Okay, so timer went off. I have one final question for you.
Okay.
This series of conversations I'm kind of calling, like, this one will be like, I was going to ask you which name I was going to use when you put up Noah, so I was like, okay, it's going to be Noah then. Be Noah and the quest for the holy Techne. Techne being an old word for technology. That's like the final question is like, do you think we found anything holy today? Or how do you go on a quest for something holy? Or if you were to find something that might be holy, how would you know if it was holy? Any way you want to answer anything in any capacity. This is the finale.
So much. Okay. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but I think I talk about it a lot in person. So it's perfect that I get to talk about it here. I'm really moved by the story of St. Christopher. Of the story of St. Christopher, something along the lines of he begins his life and he just wants to find the strongest guy around, and he wants to work for that guy. And so he's like, that's my goal. And so he goes to find the strongest king on earth and enters his service. And then he hears some whispers and they say, he says, well, who are you talking about? Like, you seem afraid of somebody. I want to know. And the king says, I'm not going to say, because if I tell you, then you're going to leave me to serve that guy. And he says, I promise I won't. And then he finds out that they're talking about the devil. And so he leaves and he goes to serve the devil. And as he's in the devil's court, he works there for a while doing all the devil stuff. And then he hears some whispers from Satan. He says, well, who are you whispering about? And Satan says, no, I'm not going to tell you. You're going to leave me and go serve that guy. And he's like, no, I won't. I promise I won't. And Satan says, he finds out that he's talking about God. So St. Christopher leaves to go find God and stumbles across a monk who tells him that he should just go and pray. And St. Christopher's like, he tries, he just can't do it. For some reason, it just doesn't seem to work. So the monk says, you know what? All you need to do is you need to sit by this river and carry whoever needs to be carried across. And so St. Christopher does that for a while. He's carrying people across this raging river. And then one day a child comes and he begins to carry him. And with every step, the child becomes heavier and heavier. And it becomes the heaviest thing that he's ever carried. He nearly drowns in the river. But eventually gets to the other side. And he realizes that he's carried across Christ. And that he was carrying the weight of the world that this child had on his shoulders. But this pursuit of a singular thing, like if you follow it to the end, if it's good, right? That it will lead you to the right spot, to the right place. But you can't kind of be wavering. You have to go through it, even if it might lead you to one way or the other. He cut through. Chesterton talks about Joan of Arc that way, that she followed the path ahead of her like a lightning bolt. Like she just went straight down it and didn't go from side to side or look back. That she did it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the way that I've been processing it and trying to figure out, how do you do that? How do you kind of do it with wisdom at the same time, but then also just understand that, that there's a trust that comes with that as well. Yeah, that's what I have to share.